We live in a world where people of different ethnicities, backgrounds, cultures, and religious beliefs all come together into one huge melting pot. We live in a world where people dream of going to the biggest cities, of getting the highest paying jobs, and spreading their own personal beliefs and thoughts to everyone around them. But that's what it is, a dream. But as president, that's something that I would like to make a reality. Three things that I would like to accomplish as president. One, establishing a whole new education system in the confines of Korea. An education system where students no longer have to spend half of their life hunched over at a desk with a declining back and receding eyes. An education system where students can go to school actually looking forward to seeing their friends, actually looking forward to learning new content instead of going over the same boring cycle of repetitive learning and teaching and learning and teaching. Where students can go to school without the societal burden of getting perfect grades, of being the model student, of being the perfect epitome of the student that society expects us to be. A system where students no longer have to compete against each other in a race to see who can get to the top ranking university, where their parents no longer have to battle to see whose son or daughter does it best. A system that I want to accomplish is a system where students can reach out to help from each other without the fear of judgment, where teachers can actually establish a calm, helpful learning environment where we don't put these students in shackles, detain them under the idea of being a perfect student, because that's what I see in the Korean education system. And that's something that caused 13,799 students to take their lives last year. Why? Because they felt worthless, stupid, and dumb because they couldn't live up to the high standards that society has set out. That's a system that I want to change. Second thing that I want to do, fixing the welfare system that exists for the poor. There is a hugely flawed welfare system in the current status quo where the conditionalities to be able to receive help are so low, and the moment that you step a foot over that conditionality is the moment that all aid stops going to you altogether. Half of the people that escaped poverty, depending on Korea's welfare system, fell right back down into crippling debt in just under 5 years. That's not a coincidence. Judges, when you go to Dongdaemun Market, when you go to a huge outdoor flea open air market, half of the people there, or most of the people there, will all be elderly. We see on the streets elderly trying to pick up cardboard boxes, trying to feed themselves in any way possible because the welfare system, because the system that the government has set out to help these people is failing. I want to create a system in which we can actually tailor the needs to these citizens that are clearly struggling in terms of healthcare, in terms of education, in terms of getting them rehabilitation homes where they can live their life comfortably. Because that's our responsibility as a government, and that's something that we're failing to do. Third thing that I want to accomplish, getting rid of the systematic discrimination that exists within the confines of Korea. When I went to Itaewon the other day, I saw a group of foreigners. You see, that's nothing new. They exist there all the time. But what was shocking to me was all the second glances, the whispers, the heated talks that surrounded these foreigners. Whenever a foreigner gets on the subway, the many glances that they get, or the whispers that I receive if I talk in English in public. That's something that shouldn't be accepted. The stereotype that people of a different race, of a different hair color, of people of different sexual orientations, from people from different ethnic backgrounds, the fact that they can't blend into our country, and the fact that we think of them as aliens from a whole nother world, that's something that I don't think should be acceptable. Korea has set this standard where women must always like men, where women cannot like women, where women must always be less than men, where women cannot do it like men, where women must stay as housewives, or the fact that people of different ethnicities, races, or cultures will never actually be Korean at the end of the day. Those are all things that I want to get rid of, starting with advocacy for LGBTQ rights, same-sex marriage, starting with setting the social connotation that these things are all normal. Korea is a homogenous country in terms of ethnicity. That's something that I want to change. Those are all three things that I want to advocate for as president, but they all strive towards one similar goal: happiness and equality for everyone.